Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and my guest is Kaye Michelle. She's a great friend of mine and was also a guest a couple shows ago. She's a published author, a Marconics energy practitioner. She is a writer, obviously, as a published author, but she does have an incredible blog. You have so many talents, Kaye. I'm just going to introduce you. Welcome, Kaye Michelle. The list is so long. That would be 10 minutes.
Oh, gosh.
But thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. And I'm very, very happy to be here and have a conversation and see where this goes and how we can help people.
Yeah, so we were just having a conversation about our evolution, our spiritual evolution. And the topic came around to all of the things that we had to release in our lives, all of the pain, how we had to sit in the fire with so many difficult aspects of ourselves, and process all of that in order to release it to help us with our ascension. And ascension, it basically is the raising of our vibrational frequency, and as we go higher, we create a life that is more in alignment with ourselves, and our reality looks like one that is more of ease and grace, and the struggle tends to fall away. But we're in this real pivotal time right now where humanity is evolving, and a key element to our evolution is releasing all of the stuff that no longer serves us. Right, Kaye?
That is so true. That is so true. And I feel like I've spent, we're put on these paths and we don't even really know we're on it in a way. And we just feel compelled to go forward. Mm-hmm. And that's been my path, and all of the spiritual training that I've done, the yoga training that I've done, the meditation, all the journeys I've taken. But every time I've faced one of those really tough ones, those especially deep suffering places, it becomes a doorway, and then I walk through and I'm buoyed up. And so every time we face those moments, those events, then we get to elevate it.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to level up, but when we're in it, we pretty much think our world is ending.
Oh my gosh.
Everything's falling apart, whether it's a relationship or you went through this series of things that happened, like boom, 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 where you separated from your husband and lost or sold your yoga studio, and you went through a lot of transitions all at one time, and it must have felt so painful, because once you're stripped down from all of these external things, you're like, you're kind of like, okay, where am I? Right? Who am I?
Absolutely. And I really went through a period, I would say, of 5 years where I felt a little lost in my own life. And so I really had to hang on to my spirituality was my bungee cord. It was that thing that kept me tethered to my source, my direction, my own map, So it was really key to just keep tuning in every day, check in with my higher self. Okay, this feels really strange. Am I on course? And is this my highest and best, most joyful path? And I would ask that just about with everything I was doing, because I felt so disoriented in a way. And so I found you just have to keep asking and keep checking in.
I think when I was in my darkest time, and there was a period in my life where I was suffering so greatly, I literally cried for 4 months, every day, all day. I was so devastated about some things that were happening in my life, and I didn't know how to go forward. I really didn't, and I felt very alone, because I think when we're suffering, we feel so alone, as if no one in the world has experienced the suffering we're suffering, although there's so many people out there who are in the same place, right?
Right.
And it was almost sometimes a moment-to-moment
Mm-hmm.
Like I could
Absolutely.
breathe. I could only breathe and try to get through the next moment because the pain was so overwhelming to me.
Yeah, me too.
Ah,
It feels like you're alive. It's like a living death in some way.
That's a good analogy. It was difficult, and I didn't have a compass. I felt very disoriented, and I felt very lost in my life. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my purpose is here. I don't know how I'm going to survive this because it's so damn painful. And I didn't have something to cling to. Like, I didn't feel like I was willing to be vulnerable to anybody and tell them about my suffering. So I didn't have family members that I would call. I am not a part of an organized religion. That has never resonated for me, so I didn't have that.
Didn't you feel like your suffering's so big, there's nobody that can hold that with you?
Yeah.
Like,
you just have
who
to
am I going to tell that's going to help me feel better? Because it's so big, I feel like if I bring this to anybody, they're just going to fall down with me.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So the first thing I had to do was just acknowledge what I was feeling and not bury it because it was just so big. I couldn't deny it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to just sit there. That's what that 4 months was. I just had to be in that pain. And I think it's really hard for people who are going through any kind of struggle, and whoever's watching this video, we've all been through something. You cannot survive your life and not have been through something difficult.
Absolutely. That is so true.
So I'm pretty sure this is relatable on some level. Somebody who's watching this, right? Whether it's a relationship to or a relationship with yourself, your body, maybe, or your emotional body, or something a situation you've been in that was toxic at work. And there's all different levels of suffering, or you've lost somebody you love dearly. There's so many different kinds of suffering, right? But it's all here as a catalyst for change. But the key and the first thing that for me was really important was what I call sitting in the fire, just being in that emotional space. And what did that look like for you, Kaye?
Oh, gosh. Well, I've been through this phase a few times, so I must have had a lot to burn up. And I literally, where I am now, my body gets so hot, I'm literally burning it up. So it's really interesting. But then I would say the worst one was when I sold the yoga studio and my children left for college, left a marriage. So I had nothing to project on. And I literally felt like I was in physical pain. But luckily I had lots of meditation training behind me. I had lots of yoga behind me. So that's what I did. I didn't spend, I didn't drink, I didn't take drugs. I just did it, took care of it with all of the tools that I had. And I did breath work every day. I mean, I think some days spent like 4 hours just sitting in it, trying to allow it so that it could move through. And that would be either through focused meditation, a meditative journey, breathing. I did Zentangle. Have you ever heard of Zentangle?
No, what's that?
It's art. It's just this meditative drawing technique. It's really, really fun. And I did a lot of that at that time. And you can use art to channel through emotion and stuff. So you can even just kind of scribble with your pen and imagine you're getting it out there. You just have to assign some pathway out of you.
I wonder if those, those coloring books, adult coloring, are a good idea.
Yeah.
You kind of lose yourself in the coloring, like when you're 4 and you're just creating and coloring, and that's what it's just a kind of a good release. I didn't have any of those tools when I went through. I didn't have anything. I didn't even know I was on a spiritual path. I was in a very tangible where my life was not anything that I couldn't see, feel, touch, with my 5 senses. I was very grounded in this 3D earth reality, right? I didn't have an awareness that I could, maybe meditate, or I didn't have tools in my toolbox. So really, I just cried for 4 months, which was just the only way I could get through it.
Wow.
Eventually, though, you kind of crawl out. You kind of you find yourself laughing and catch yourself. I haven't laughed in 6 months.
Yeah.
It was kind of a slow crawl out, but the key was, I think for both of us, that we actually had to stay and process that pain.
Right.
And be with ourselves and allow ourselves the time to do that, because so many people will just project out. Like you didn't have that because everything was stripped away. But so many people will project their pain out on a spouse, or maybe being active at work, or maybe obsessively go shopping and just end so they don't have to feel. It's kind of all these numbing tools, right? And so I don't know, I think for me a big part of transcending and releasing things that no longer serve me, which in my case were situations that were triggering a lot of emotion for me, I had to actually not be afraid of the pain.
Yes.
Actually experience and feel it and not numb myself to it.
That's the spiritual warrior. Yeah. And it takes so much courage. It takes so much courage to sit and just look at it and be willing to look at yourself and say, wow, that's me. And wow. And I have this pattern. I have this belief system, and I've been running on this program for all these years, and it wasn't true. So it's stripping away of all of those false belief systems and the false parts of our personality, inauthentic behaviors that we have.
Right. I think so many people attach to belief systems about themselves that aren't true. I've always been, some people would say, I've always been the black sheep of the family, so I have to keep being the black sheep of the family. This behavior is expected of me, so that's who I am. Well, that's not who you really are.
Right.
That's the story that's being told.
Absolutely.
Or somebody who struggles with body issues and says, I'm so fat. I am just so fat. I just can't stop eating carbs.
Yeah.
But I love carbs, so I'm just going to keep eating. And there's a self-defeatist kind of story we tell ourselves that change isn't possible.
Right.
Or someone who's staying in a relationship that's not in alignment. You know that this relationship is not where you need to be, but you don't have the courage to step out of it.
Right.
But if you can navigate the waters and really align with your truth, because that's what this whole process is about, right? It's about really honoring and aligning with what is right for you in your life. Right.
It's so true. Do you remember the movie Indiana Jones? Where was it, the first one perhaps, where he's in that cave and he has to the next step is to step into what he thinks is empty space. And then because of the illusion in there, all of a sudden when he steps, he lands on that stone bridge that he couldn't see because of all the patterning going on. Right. And all of a sudden the bridge appears because he took the step. And that's exactly what this path is like. We have to just, okay, I'm getting the impulse to move forward and I don't even see the direction, but I'm just going to take a step. And all of a sudden the path appears. So
that's such a perfect example.
Yeah.
You have to take the step, even if you don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know what's ahead. You're fearful.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You think that you're crazy, but there's if you tune into yourself, which is by tuning in, I mean, if you are giving yourself the space and the silence, even if it's just 5 minutes to get quiet, there's going to be some sort of nudge or pull in one direction or another. We're all guided to live our highest and best life. We don't always follow the directions and the synchronicities that are being offered. Right.
you have to accept that you really do know that that voice telling you don't go that way knows what it's talking about. It's you watching out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I know you had a beautiful meditation this morning, and I was wondering if you could share some of the information that you got, because I think it would be very helpful to some of the people who are watching this video, you know?
So I'm trying to think where to begin on this. So my practice these days is going in, and then I take myself, and it comes to me at the same time to what I call the 0 point field, and a lot of people out there call it the 0 point field. It's the field of all possibilities. It's basically, if you refer to Prime Creator as God, it's the energy of the essence that's emanating off of that Prime Creator, off of God. It's the creative force. It's the field where all of it's happening. It's kind of the crucible, the mixing pot, the pantry, if you will, like God's pantry. So that's the way I experience it. So it's really deep within me, but it's also, so when I go, I sort of fold in. When I set the intention to go there, I just follow it with my consciousness. So I tend to fold inward, but then I expand out. So that's the path. And then I just follow it and expand. And then I get to a place where I usually set an intention I need to go for healing, rejuvenation, information, guidance, whatever that is. And this morning I just needed to get less, I was a little too anchored here and feeling some tumult and some disquiet. So I went there. Plus I wanted to go and get some, get centered for this interview with you. So the information that came through, and it was so strong, was that all of this suffering is happening so that we can ascend, because as the universe is expanding in its quantum physics, it's the new, it's the new cosmic consciousness out there. So it's vibrating, it's expanding, and we are all going with it. We have to. We're all part of this universe. And so if we don't transmute everything in this vehicle that's coming up, then we risk falling away. We need to keep transmuting it, and then we get to raise our consciousness. When we raise our consciousness, we go up in vibration, we go up in dimension, and that helps us to ascend and get to where our souls are wanting all of us to go. This really feels like a huge collective project right now. And it's because we're all in the same project. This universe is the project. So we want to save all of the data that we've collected. And by ascending, we get to save that. If we do not, all that data gets lost. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So basically it's about clearing. It's about clearing things in our past, belief systems, programs that have held us down, anything negative, anything lower vibrational, creating fear, anger, depression, jealousy, anxiety, all of those lower vibrational bandwidths, all of the experiences that we've had in our lives that create those emotions within us need to be cleared. If we want to live our highest and best life, we need to hold the highest vibrational frequency in everything we do.
Right.
And we need to elevate who we are. It's not so much what we do physically, it's about who we are internally, because who we are radiates out and creates our reality.
Right, exactly.
So we're basically kind of going through, and what I see sometimes is, this is a funny visual, but I've seen this for myself. It's like a little grasshopper kind of going, I don't know, now I'm dating myself, but we used to have these Rolodexes with these file cards.
Yep.
and they were alphabetized, and you would have people's addresses. This is way before the internet and stuff. We had these Rolodexes with all these file cards, and you could roll and they would spin. And I've seen this little grasshopper guy like tossing cards, and it kind of feels like, for me, it's a metaphor for throwing things out that no longer are in alignment with who I am.
Right.
Belief systems about who I was that weren't true. I was not good enough.
Right.
That card had to go, or I wasn't smart enough. That card had to go. So it was kind of this. If you've watched or read the book, the Magic Art of Tidying Up, the KonMari system, KonMari system for your internal mindset, and it's just the tossing of all the garbage that no longer serves you, right?
Yeah.
That was the kind of the visual that comes up for me when I'm taking inventory and just kind of getting rid of things. And people will say, God, well, how do I get over this situation I had with my ex, or this situation I had with a friend, or this emotional relationship I have with myself? How do I heal? The thing to do is to acknowledge and recognize what's in there. Take inventory of what is going on inside of you. That's the very first step, right? What are the feelings? Where am I uncomfortable, and why?
Right.
What am I ignoring that I need to really look at? What am I avoiding? By shopping, drinking, eating, doing all these behaviors that are numbing me. What is it that I'm really avoiding? What is the source of my pain? You don't necessarily have to go there right away, but recognize it. That's the very first step, right?
Right. Recognize it and just hold it with soft eyes. Just hold it with kindness and no judgment.
Observe it.
Yes, just observe it. Then it has to change. Right. Right.
So the relationship to it has to change a little bit and shift. So instead of actually just being consumed by the emotion of it, if you can kind of distance yourself and observe the feeling instead of feel the feeling, if you can kind of step back and just observe it, that will help you. It'll help you to get perspective. It will help you to recognize things in yourself that maybe were a blind spot or something that you didn't recognize.
Right.
It's huge. It's a huge part of the process.
It is. And by doing it, you're changing neural pathways. So there are some ways to make it a little quicker too. So if I just get into that, I call it a program. So if you click on that browser window and you activate the program, and you can tell you're activated when you're triggered. That's your indication. Okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
So then just hold it and observe it. But if you don't have a lot of time, just start doing something with your body where you're crossing midline. So it's called cross crawl. You can do breathing, alternate nostril breathing. You can just activate something that's going to fire up any kind of different neural pathways to change that program. Because the neurons literally, if you can see my hands, neural groups literally do this. And when you're in a program, it's like this. So if you introduce a different stimulus or a different activity within that program, they start to ungroup and then regroup in a new way. So if you add a breath work and just consciousness, your presence with a program, went out and took a walk consciously, just did something different.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something metaphysical. It could be something physical. It could be going for a walk.
Right.
Maybe you sit on the couch, go for a walk with your dog. You're creating a different neural pathway.
Right.
Repeating a different behavior instead of, going into the pantry and rummaging around for something to satisfy you. Pick up the phone and call a friend. I mean, every time you make a conscious switch.
Exactly. Right. That's it. Just changing it.
Yeah. You're creating a different kind of mapping a roadway.
Yeah.
And creating a different kind of neural pathway. It has to be conscious. You have to be conscious of your behavior. You have to be conscious of your thought. You have to be conscious of the emotions that you're feeling so that you can transmute them. If you are living an unconscious life and just numbing out constantly and just zoning out on Facebook and, or Instagram or social media and using that as a distraction 24/7, or a workaholic, whatever it is that you're putting all that attention into, on the camera when you're going to take a selfie and you have to turn the lens, you have to turn the camera lens around. That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to hit, look at your camera and turn the lens around. Instead of taking a picture outside, you want to look inside. In doing the inner work, that is where the most powerful transformation is going to come from. You can go to webinars and seminars all day long about how to live your best life and how to make the most money and get rich and be this, that, or the other. You will never achieve your full potential unless you go in and do your inner work and release and start like that grasshopper, just throwing out programs and all the bullshit that you've been attaching to. That is not in alignment with you, and that is not for you.
Right.
That's a fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you change yourself, others change around you because they have to. You are no longer the same, so their reaction to you is going to shift. And I've been in relationships and I've been there, and I think, well, I just need so-and-so to behave a different way. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
I have to change. If I change my piece, then they have to. It's just how we're all connected.
Yes. Yes.
So
and it's
that's
amazing.
the magic. Yeah.
It's amazing how when we do our inner work and we start to shift, we start showing up in the world differently. We carry ourselves differently. We start to own and step into our power. We start to align with our truth.
Right.
The more you can excavate and release and process, the more alignment you'll create in your life. That has a byproduct. The incredible, result of that is a life of more ease. Life where you start creating and manifesting instead of being a victim and reacting. It's a very different kind of energy that you bring into your life. So if you want to live your best life and you want to elevate your experience here, don't waste that suffering. Acknowledge it, but don't dwell there. It's not a life sentence,
Yeah.
Right? We all have the power to change our reality.
Yeah, it's not a life sentence.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Kaye, thank you so much for joining me for this really quick conversation. Is there anything else you wanna add? I know that you got so much.
I do. I feel like it keeps chirping at me. Some people have really repetitive bad thoughts and repetitive bad fears, and it's really strong. If it's really that strong, you may have been through a trauma. So if you've got that going on, that could be a little bit of you could have along the PTSD spectrum, you could be having a little post-traumatic stress. So in those situations, you really do need to by just sitting and observing, you might make yourself worse. So if you feel like you sit and observe and that feels worse, go back to doing some of those things I talked about. Use breath, movement. Movement is probably the safest way for anybody that's having compulsive thoughts like that. Use movement first because it's a little less threatening. You have to literally heal your nervous system and turn off that stress response. So if you've got a program from, if you were a service member, if you were serving over in Iraq or Afghanistan, or you've had surgery traumas or a car accident, or you were attacked, I would try to use breath is a little bit more confronting, but if you can try to start doing movement, like just flex your spine, do a little like down dog pose, walk, pet your dog.
Dancing? How about dancing?
Yep, singing, anything that's just try something different. Just try to get out of that freeze response, because you could be caught into fight, flight, or freeze. And usually it's more freeze for a lot of people. So you want to get yourself, just move, get off the couch. When you get that program happening, see if you can just call yourself out, just get up and walk. go
It used
outside.
to be almost an automatic response, like a recognition and then a choice.
Right.
A recognition, then a different behavior.
Right. We have to remember when we're in the program, and that's the trick. Remember to be present, to be conscious. And that's the challenge. But if you can, it will change. It will change over time.
That's so huge. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, well, I hope that you all got a little nugget here or there throughout our conversation. Kay and I we got to talking, and I said, Kay, we should really put this out there, because I know a lot of people are going through a lot of struggling right now. Maybe a lot of chaos, a little discomfort. We are going through a huge shift.
Right.
Humanity is going through a huge shift right now. Our planet is going through a huge evolutionary shift right now. I'm just seeing ripples and waves going around. We're all interconnected. And so every one of us, if every one of us can just work on ourselves and elevate who we are able to impact the whole in a much more powerful way. So I encourage you to maybe think about some of the things that we said. I hope that we can help you, or we helped you in some way. We're both available to help you walk through this process. I will put our contact information at the end of the video. So if you'd like to work with either of us, either through energy work, coaching, we do have a lot of experience, and we'd be happy to help you process some of the things you're going through, or walking through this journey. It's so difficult to do it alone. And
oh my gosh.
And you just feel alone. And by human nature, we kind of isolate ourselves. So, reach out to us. And there's so many other practitioners and energy modalities and things available to help you. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Kay, for being.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
I want to encourage you all to be kind to yourselves, love yourselves through this process, and I love y'all. We'll see you next time.
Love you.
Bye. Bye, Kay.
Bye-bye.